Oh, seeing my face means either two things. You have died and went to heaven, and there is boxing talk, or just another episode of the show, Double RT Boxing with your host, Mr.A. This is Ready Talk Boxing. And unfortunately, we are not in heaven quite yet. We're still on Earth. Another episode, baby. Now, this is the post fight recap of the one fight on last night's card of David Lemieux versus Billy Joe Saunders, that the brawler won. You know, that whole fight had boxers versus brawlers, or boxers versus come forward fighters. Ulysses Jr. put a clinic on the Hebrew Hammer. It showed what boxers and brawlers. Billy Joe Saunders, David Lemieux, an elite level of a clean sweep, an elite level of a for all my Irish viewers and supporters. Billy Joe Saunders put an elite level of arse whooping in boxing, and then you have the one fight where it did not go the boxer's way. Gary O'Sullivan said, I'm gonna whoop his arse. I'm gonna put the spike in him. And he did. He did. And from what I was seeing, not too many people gave Spike a good old chance, man. They just they just immediately wrote Spike off. And normally the brawler will lose like he did against Billy Joe. But like I said, right here on a previous episode of Double RT Boxing with me, Mr.A, the breakdown. They they uh they held Anton Douglas too close to the nip, you know? They after that loss, which Kravitsky, they cutted him too much. He didn't grow at all. He didn't do no experience. See, it's a fine line on how you bring a fighter up. It could look amazing, you know. Then they run into trouble like Antoine Douglas. It could look good as of right now, like you would think. For example, and a lot of it is fighters' performance. I'm going a little off topic here, but in bringing fighters, Shakur Stevenson and Michael Collin, same time frame, but their last fight, who showed a bigger difference? Who showed an improvement? You know, at least in my thought, I thought Michael Collins was either a dominant performance, it was a lackluster. Shakur showed some steps, some power. He improved, you know, some more movement, some some different punches with, you know, showed a little bit of change. Whereas last night, if anything, Douglas took a small step backwards. You know, being that Kavinsky put him in that situation before, it was easy for him to regress back there when Spike was starting to come forward, starting to put some hits on him. It seemed like Douglas never mentally was able to recover from it. Now, taking a year off, was that a mental thing? Was it just couldn't get him no fights? He he did look a little dazed in that ring last night. You know, and unfortunately, I don't want to get into personal information like details about him, but he has that face where it's a little dazed off due to his mother's past drug abuse. So when he's getting hit, that's my opinion. You know, that's my opinion. So when he's getting rocked in the ring, a ref job could be a little hard because his face his face features are not of the norm to me. Now, that being said, the actual fight itself, this is Ready Ready Talk Boxing with Mr. A. The little bit about Antoine Douglas face features, outside the line boxing talk, but hey, it includes the ref's job, so I feel I'm okay on that. It is Antoine. They were. I watched that fight and kind of like, what's going on here? Like Max and Andre, no Max and Roy, they were just talking Douglas like Douglas is a boxer and he's good, and I was like, whoa, like I never saw that. I see potential perhaps, but the way they were talking about him, it's too easy for him to get hit. I saw that coming. You know how, like, where was this boxer that they? I guess they said when they saw when he was younger. So okay, but watching on the past tapes, I didn't see any of that. You know, and obviously the competition that he did face was no Spike. Or even if it's not just Spike, I just don't think he can handle that come forward with any type of aggression. I don't think he can handle that. And Maxon kind of touched on it, saying like, does he even have the ability to keep the fight in the realm that he wants? He knows how to throw punches, but does he knows how to place those punches into a strategy to win a boxing match? And it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like. Well, it's not just him. It falls on this team. But it looked like even if the team is giving him the instructions, which we hope they are in the corner, they're whispering very soft words to him. But it looked like with the skills he has, he doesn't have the skill to apply them to a strategy, which is, that's weird. It's hard work. I know that's hard work. It's easier said than done when you got some guy coming out there professionally paid to whoop your arse. So that's where Douglas needs to be right now in his career. Maybe if he has to take a step back, go down to 8 rounders, and mix up a little better competition. Fix that up. I know overseas they have no problem fighting 8 rounders, 10 rounders, just to stay sharp. That's one thing in the States they don't do. Fighters don't stay busy, and Antoine Douglas is a fighter who it shows. And when you do stay busy, you can't always fight. When you're in 8 rounders, you can't always fight the 4 round opponents. Now to the fight, round one, I gave Douglas round 1 and 3. He was on the back foot, hitting him with 1-2s and 3s. Sullivan was landing a couple body shots during that round, but you could see the fight was not Douglas's. Even though he landed the cleans 1s and 2s, that pressure and just the cross right by O'Sullivan. Like I gave round 2 to Sullivan because he landed numerous cross rights in between rounds 1 and 3. And then there's rounds 4 on to the 7th round KO. Sullivan just, like I said, it wasn't heavy pressure. It was a pressure applied with a jab. The thing that the Hebrew Hammer did not do, the thing David Lemieux could not set up. Like I said, Gary O'Sullivan didn't have the greatest jab, but he didn't just attempt to walk himself in with hooks, not just hooks and head movement. He threw a paw out jab. He threw something to set his work up. He was in round 4. He started working the body up and down with some hooks. Like I said, he always dug to the body and had landed a right cross. Like basically that was his little bread and butter biscuits. He could throw a left hand, and in the middle of the action, he could throw a right cross, and it seemed to land. His jab, you know, he had a nice jab going. Like I said, it set him up good. It set him up good to keep Douglas honest, guessing. He because he didn't know what was going to come. The left hook, the right cross, and the fact that he couldn't just see him coming with the jab of partially blinding his vision. It was a good setup for Gary. And then he just got him against the ropes in the seventh, backed him up with the jab, the hooks to the body. It was a nice plan. You know, it was nice to see a boxing plan, just like the previous fight. Ulysses, even though it was beautiful, he could have done more. Cause you could see the way he was turning and just tagging the Hebrew with the right hand, just like Billy Joe was doing. Billy Joe wasn't doing it as much as Junior was doing on the Hebrew Hammer. He'd turn him constantly and just cracking with the right. I feel Billy Joe could have done that a lot more. He was turning David, but he didn't come with that right hand crack or even that left hand down the middle like Lomo does it a lot. Lomo will turn you and crack you. That's his whole purpose, to turn you so he can crack you on the side. Billy Joe let David Lemieux off the hook a lot, and I noticed that even though he didn't turn Douglas, he kept cracking him. He never let him off the hook with that right hand crack. And when he finally got him against the ropes, he just kept cracking with hooks. And you could see, like I said, it was tough because Douglas did look woozy. But at the same time, he just has that face features where he looks a little tired. So when that type of when a man or a woman with those face features gets woozy, gets tired, it's kind of hard to tell, or they're in real trouble. You can see it. And in round 7, Douglas looked in trouble to me. And then the way he laid there before he got up it's a bad sign. So I don't know where Douglas is going to go from here. But Spike at 160 with the WBO Intercontinental Championship, he's not gonna get a Billy Joe Saunders title fight. I don't think Billy Joe's gonna take a step backwards right now in money situation and give a rematch. But Spike, he can fight Demetrius Andrade. He can fight him. Because Dimitri, I believe, is number 3 in the WBO. Before you get a title shot, try and get one of these little Lincoln belts. And Sullivan, if you do want a rematch, beat number 3. This is Mr. A. Thank you for tuning in to the RRT Boxing Show. Tune in for the next episode. It should be on. We're going to be discussing some Japanese end of the year boxing. Tune in, folks.